mains and advanced. I think I got like a 2K rank in both. So I'm currently on a 100% merit-based scholarship. Students get such autonomy over hosting fest, building applications that handle the entire system at BITS.
And in the Oasis, you launched the logged-in game also, right?
Yeah. So that was the first proper game we built as a part of a workforce.
If anyone has to start its game development journey, how shall he should begin?
We built that in Unreal and we use blueprinting for that.
What is the scope of like game development in India right now and in abroad also?
And it doesn't follow the natural laws of physics. We have to build our own physics.
Developing a game, what are the challenges you guys majorly face? How hard do you think it's to clone Among Us?
Hey, this is Nadmi from Bits Pilani, a founder, developer, and a creator. I love to code and build things. Recently, I was selected for GSOC 2. You can know more about me from LinkedIn. I've started a podcast series called Bits Gem, a show featuring Bits Pilani folks doing cool stuff in tech, finance, consulting, robotics, academics, and beyond. Hope you will enjoy the show.
My name is Shivin. I am a second year student at BITS Pilani. My branch is computer science. And my hobbies include game development and playing a lot of, I would say, Valorant.
Did you give JEE Mains, JEE Advanced, and BITSAT?
Yeah, so I gave JEE Mains and Advanced. I think I got like a 2K rank in both in JEE Mains and Advanced. Then I gave BITSAT and I got a pretty decent score. So I looked into my college options and I decided BITS was the best for me. So this was a clear choice.
Were you preparing for BITSAT specifically or like JEE Mains, JEE Advanced? Like you have 2000 ranks, so most probably JEE Mains and Advanced only. And this BITSAT was like a 1 month before.
Yeah, BITS actually was my like plan B, honestly. So my plan A was JEE Mains and Advanced, and frankly I was very torn between selecting IIT BHU and BITS Pilani. But at the end of the day, as I said, BITS Pilani had like a different BITS Pilani was basically in a different league compared to those IITs that I had in mind.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you are in your second year now. It's been 2 years. So were the expectations met or not?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I have those expectations are surpassed in a lot of different ways. Like BITS gives you opportunities I frankly couldn't even imagine. I remember being in my first year, there was this thing called Aditya Birla Scholarship. And basically what that was is Aditya Birla Foundation, they basically take like around top 20 students from all the top 6 IITs and BITS Pilani. So they only select from these colleges, and being in BITS Pilani was the distinguishing factor for me. Like just being in BITS Pilani itself gave me that opportunity to be, you know, a contender for that scholarship. And in a lot of different places as well, I think BITS has provided me a lot more, how do I say, that title has provided me a lot more opportunities than I would have gotten had I been in, let's say, those newer IITs or, you know, in some other college.
And what is the scholarship you are receiving right now?
So I'm currently on a 100% merit-based scholarship, and I have been receiving that for the past 4 semesters.
So like
No
tuition fee.
No tuition fee.
And is the mess fee included?
Yeah, I have to pay hostel and mess fees. And yeah, so BITS actually provides a lot more scholarships than you might think. You know, the MCN covers a lot of people, and recently they expanded the merit scholarship for the 24 batch, and it's now covering, I think, 2% people for 100% scholarship. And frankly, that's a lot considering how big BITS fees can get.
And people say the department and clubs culture is quite, vibrant in BITS Pilani. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that is what sets BITS apart from all the other colleges. The fact that students get such autonomy over, hosting fests, building applications that handle the entire system at BITS is something I don't think is possible at a lot of government colleges like IITs. So I think the club and department culture is the thing that, sets us apart from a lot of colleges.
And talking on your game development journey, like as you mentioned, so how were you exposed to it?
So my exposure to game development actually occurred in during the COVID time. It was lockdown and I was in grade 11, and I frankly didn't have anything to do. So I just, I was bored of playing games. So I decided, why not make a game for myself? So that's when I started teaching myself Unity. I built very few playing games on it, and then JEE happened, so I left it all. And then I picked it back up when I was in BITS, and once again the clubs and the departments, they give you all sorts of support and exposures.
Did you build any game in that COVID period?
Not really.
You were learning.
Yeah, it was mostly learning based. Like I was getting, I was exposing myself to all the different sorts of technologies. How do you build a game? What all goes behind it? It was only when I came to BITS that I actually built my first ever proper game.
And when students enter BITS Pilani, they are usually not aware of the department and club culture. They are mostly into the academics, जहाँ पे भी जाके पढ़ाई करनी है. So like, how did they turn it on?
I think those first few weeks where, you know, there's a lot of intermixing between the freshers and the senior students, especially at Rotunda. That is what exposes a lot of freshers to the department and club culture. Then Oasis comes around, the big fest, and students actually realize that, you know, the clubs and departments are actually doing something very big. So I think that's a turning point for most of the people, freshers at BITS.
And in the Oasis, you launched the logged in game also, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was the first proper game we built as a part of our workforce.
And how much time it took?
It took us actually around 3 to 4 months. There
3
was
to 4 months.
Yeah, there was a lot of grunt work involved because, frankly speaking, while building a game, you have to look at a lot of different aspects. You know, like 3D modeling, game designing. You have to look at different aspects. Basically, you have to cover a lot of different bases, and that took like quite a lot of time.
And apart from DVM, you're also in Postman,
Yeah, yeah.
game development.
Yeah, so
What's the scene of
that
that?
BITS Pilani Postman Innovation Lab. So I'm a part of that. That that Postman Lab is very good for, you know, providing technology for us to, you know, build games on. Like, frankly speaking, I don't have a 4090 lying around, you know, in my laptop. But the PCs at the lab, they are amazing. You can build games on them. You can test out different renders, 3D renders, and a
If
lot of
anyone has to start its game development journey,
Yeah.
how shall she begin?
There's a very famous channel, Brackies. That's how I exposed myself to game development in class 11. They have a very simple few courses on game development. You know, like building basic games. They teach you scripting, like in C Sharp, and they also tell you how to use Unity. I think that's the best way to get
And
into
in
development.
game development, like you guys code also, or is it more like drag and drop that the UI interface the platform provides, like Unity? Or do you guys code also?
Unity has a lot more coding. It's properly script based, so we have to write our code in C Sharp there. But in Unreal, we have the opportunity of blueprinting, which is basically drag and drop. And frankly, it is a lifesaver because we have to write down functions for a lot of different objects, and you know, it can get tedious when you have to look at 500 lines of codes for the same object and you have to copy paste it over multiple objects. The visual scripting gives a very good layout.
So in the logged in game was built in Unreal or Unity?
We built that in Unreal and we used blueprinting for that.
Okay. What is the scope of like game development in India right now and in abroad also?
Frank, that's a very debatable topic, honestly speaking. In India right now, it is rising a lot, thankfully, due to a lot of indie developers, you know, on their own trying to build AAA game titles. Like, I usually see a lot of developers randomly on Instagram, they are working on some big games. But the main issue is with the production and the deployment of the game itself. Since the market is so saturated with a lot of games, and you know, it's a lot of times your games can be hit or miss. It's a big risk, and most people in India can't take that big of a risk.
Like there is a huge amount of money and time also involved.
Yeah,
No certainty that it will work out or not.
Exactly, that's the issue. In abroad, it's a lot more safer, and there are companies like Rockstar.
Why is it safer like in abroad?
So I think the main reason that it's a lot more safer in abroad is because there's not a plethora of, how do I say it, developers for game development in there. It's mostly boils down to the population factor, and the fact that their market is a lot more accustomed to you know, stuff like video games, because frankly speaking, in foreign, like a lot of first world countries, they spend more on entertainment than Indians would. You can't easily sell a 300 rupee game to an Indian, but you can sell that to a foreigner. It's cheap for them, and
Okay.
they'll be interested in buying that out.
Okay.
And the companies once again are already established, so it's very easy to, you know, build games there and supply them.
So are you seeing game development as a career path also, or you are doing as a side project?
I would like it to be a career path, but frankly speaking, right now I have kept it as a side project. Realistically speaking, game development is still rising, and by the time I graduate, it's difficult to predict what will be the exact scenario.
So like, are there jobs right now?
There are jobs right now, but the fact is that they're not paying that much.
And what about freelancing in the game development sector?
Once again, freelancing is basically indie game development,
Okay.
and then your game goes hit or miss after you have devoted so much time and effort into it. But then again, if your game does go big, it's gonna be a lot of money, like insanely lot.
Are you building any game right now? Do you invest time in game development, or are you focusing on the CADs only?
I do invest times in game development.
Oh.
It is something very precious to me. I love game development, honestly speaking, and anybody who tries out game development would feel the same.
So is your YouTube feed like with game development or not?
Half of it is, and half of it is game reviews.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, I think I'm building a few games, and I hope that in the future they will go good.
What is the scene of your ACADS? Like how much CGPA are you getting right now?
So
Starting from the first semester.
So for the first 3 semesters, I received a 10 CGPA, and this semester I got a 9.95 CGPA.
So like that's quite impressive. So how do you manage game development along with your ACADS?
So I think the fact is that I like game development so much, it was never a burden to me. It was very easy to, how do I say, devote time into game development because it didn't used to drain me so much. Like I could, study for a good amount of hours and then do game development without being tired.
Okay.
So it came to me as a sort of relaxing thing, especially since we can't really play video games on the Wi-Fi here. So game development was the substitute for it.
So any other commitments you have apart from ACADS and game development as of now?
Not really. My mother is a researcher in physics, so I sometimes help her out, and the remaining part of my time is usually spent in reading research papers for her.
From physics, I have one more question. Like in game development, we say you need to do a lot of physics, or is it already pre-built?
Yeah, it is pre-built, but sometimes when you have a very good idea, right, and it doesn't follow the natural laws of physics, we have to build our own physics. Like I remember in those days when I started learning game development, I would actually build my own movement control systems. I would build my gravity systems because those were, how do I say, the basis for game development. They gave you a solid ground to build games upon because now you understand what is happening behind this.
And while developing a game, what are the challenges you guys majorly face?
Okay. So the first challenge we face is arranging 3D models. My part of the job is mostly game development. It's usually coding. I frankly cannot build good 3D models. So for me, the major tough part comes down to finding good 3D models which will suit my game and its art style. And another very problematic aspect is playtesting. Since it's a lot more physics based and simulation based, you can't really predict when your game will go haywire. Like there are times when I would build very foolproof shooting systems, and then randomly the guy shooting the gun goes back, gets shot.
Recoils.
Yeah, he recoils instead of the gun. So it's very hard to predict sometimes, when playtesting, where things might go wrong. And you have to go down to extreme lengths to find bugs because you don't want to release a very buggy game.
Okay.
And there have been times where I discovered some bugs which made me rewrite the entire code once again, because those came very earlier from when I first started coding those objects.
And any like platform you use like GitHub?
Yeah, so version control is another issue. With Unity, I did try Git LFS and it frankly worked fine for smaller projects. But when we were developing Log10 for Unreal Engine, we used another version control. It's called Perforce. But the issue with Perforce is, the setup takes a lot of time. We have to deploy our own cloud on AWS. And a lot of computers, while simultaneously trying to manage it, it becomes very clunky and laggy. So though version control is a very big issue.
Coordinating is an issue there.
Yeah, coordinating is a
How did you guys manage in the lockdown? Like I guess you were 4 members?
Yeah, we were a 4 to 5 member team.
4 to 5 members.
So initially we did try that Perforce thingy, right? And it worked very well for like the few initial weeks. But as the game started, getting big, the server couldn't handle it and our PCs were, just straight up frying.
So like you deploy your own version control in cloud, and because of the file size issue you face problems.
Yeah, I think I'm not really sure exactly as to why it was so laggy on our systems. I think it could be our processing powers were, pretty bad. But the fact is that it was very laggy and it was difficult to work upon that. So what we did is Unreal has a different system where you can basically migrate code.
Okay.
So one of us has had the master projects on our PC where the entire game was, and whenever we had to add something to that master project, basically what we would do is we would use that Unity's migrating system to transfer objects and game files.
Major programming language used in game development is C++, C Sharp.
Yeah, C++ and C Sharp. C++ is for Unreal Engine and C Sharp for Unity.
Okay, so apart from the roadmap that you gave, what other advice would you give someone starting with the game development? Like they just don't watch YouTube videos, stuck in tutorial hell. How shall they proceed in the real world, build games, and do more hands-on?
See, I think the fact is tutorial hell is a lot more difficult to get out of once you get into it in the game development scene, because the only way to learn to use those engines is to tweak with them yourself. That's how I learned, and I think that's how most game developers would agree they learned game development. It's very difficult to follow tutorials on YouTube because a lot of them are very, how do I say, very vague. They would randomly perform a step and there would be no explanation for it. And that's a very bad way to learn, in my honest opinion. The best way to actually, get hands-on with game development is trying to make your own game.
Okay.
And as you face issues, you Google them, you go on YouTube, you try to find how people fix those issues. There's a lot of forums online available as well. And that's the best way to actually learn game development, to practice with.
Like as you mentioned, you need a Blender guy, a 3D model, right? So what if someone wants to, build a game around bits map?
Okay.
So how much hard it would be to, get on the 3D model side? Do you have any idea of that? Or game development people just focus on the coding part and they need someone for the modeling part?
I think game development encompasses the 3D modeling part. It's a part of game development. So it's coming back to your question with the bitsmap thingy. It is very difficult,
Like
honestly.
I guess you guys were trying that.
We actually try to use bitsmap, and the 3D team at DVM, they actually did an amazing job. They already had a 3D model, but it became very difficult to incorporate into our game because there's this thing called colliders where we basically have to map every object like this sitting arrangement, right? We have to set the colliders to the shape of this, and that basically meant that we had to draw the entire bits map with colliders ourselves.
So these things would be done by the Blender guys, right? The whole modeling part.
Yeah,
Or the game development people.
yeah. They usually do it, but since it was the first time for us, and it became a very difficult task for us to streamline the process, we decided to go against using a bits map for our game.
And for 3D modeling, Unity and Unreal are used quite a lot. Like I guess in 3D videos also that DVM made.
Yeah. Unreal Engine is like how do I say, a jack of all spades. It has everything. Like you can even for our game, while trying to make the trailer, we used Unreal Engine's cinematic feature, where you can basically ask the camera to go around, like record different stuff. So Unreal Engine is probably the best engine to actually make production worthy games. But Unity is the best place to learn.
Why so like Unity is the best play to
Because
to
it's
learn?
very simple.
Okay.
Uh,
Unreal isn't simple. Like it has blueprints. We can use
You can-
drag and drop.
you might think that, but Unreal is very difficult to learn initially. It has a very steep learning curve, and there's a lot of stuff in Unreal Engine which you can do. You can They provide a lot of different coding abilities, and getting accustomed to Unreal itself took me like a month for our game.
Okay.
Like logged in, it took me quite a lot of time to get familiar with blueprinting in Unreal Engine. While the drag and drop part is very simple, how to actually have provide interaction between the different objects was a major issue for me.
And once the game is developed,
Yeah.
how do you guys proceed to publish it? Do you publish in the App Store, or where are the desktop apps published?
So Steam is the number one place to go for PC games, but for when you're starting out as a developer, there's an initial fee. I think it's around $80 or $100.
One time.
Yeah, one time I think. But the best place where indie developers go for publishing the games is a website called itch.io.
Okay, huh.
Itch is where we publish our game as well because it's the best community forum for discussing indie games. You know, for people to publish their first games, for people to try out different games. I
How do
think
you like brainstorm the idea, the creative aspect?
I think it was a lot of trial and error. We initially each came up with like 10 or 20 different ideas, and then we filtered them about which one of them seemed feasible, which one of them seemed actually good, which one seemed people would actually like it, practical in order to build. And then once we had around I think 5 to 6 ideas, we started with a base ground for all of those ideas. So we started building a prototype, right? And you know we would play those games ourselves, those prototypes, and we see how we like those. We would ask our wingies to play those games, and we would gauge their reaction, we would see how they're liking something, and based on that we started tweaking the creative aspect of the game.
Like, I have also one question. How difficult is to make a multiplayer game? Like, because single player games, there are a lot in the market, but
Yeah.
why there are less multiplayer games?
So
Because multiplayer games like are more engaging.
multiplayer games definitely are more engaging. I think the best way to explain this is to talk about synchronization in games. So if you were to play a game in let's say Pilani and you had a friend in let's say New Delhi, and both of you fire a gun at the same time, how do you ensure that both of you see the same bullet at the same time? It's very difficult to synchronize those bullets and
Okay.
to measure latency. Valorant is an amazing game which does this. I think they have a whole article on how they manage this. Like they would measure the latency, different FPS on different PC setups,
So a lot of backend stuff also, right?
lot of backend stuff,
Hmm.
lot of networking as well,
Hmm.
because you have to like ensure that there's no lag at any point of time, because you have to provide a fair environment in multiplayer games. I think that is what makes building multiplayer games so difficult. You have to ensure that the physics is simultaneous on every single PC and system.
So this is a bottleneck of the not from the game development side, but on the server side for the backend people or the game development.
I think it is a bottleneck with both sides actually, because when you're developing a game, you can't really build a very big and inefficient game, because that makes it difficult for the backend to actually actually send requests and like manage those game objects, because you have to make your game efficient in order to ease up the load on the server.
Okay. And talking on the multiplayer game side, I guess everyone would have played Among Us in their COVID period. So how hard do you think it's to clone Among Us?
Among Us, I think, might not be that difficult, because coming back to the synchronization problem, I don't think Among Us has a very dire need for those.
It was a simple game, but like
It
a
was a
boomer.
it was a simple game, and they executed the idea perfectly. So I think games like those are not that difficult to make, but they are very difficult to execute properly.
Okay.
Like you have to understand how your audience for that type of games. So yeah, I think deploying that marketing stuff and actually updating a game based on the audience reaction is what made Among Us so good.
And if someone is starting in the game development, what laptop requirements would you suggest? Operating system, RAM,
So
basic requirements to
you
start.
definitely need a good GPU, because Unreal Engine won't be able to handle bad GPUs at all. Like you need to basically Unreal Engine has a lot of light rendering, and the graphics look good in Unreal Engine, but then again it consumes a lot of PC power. I think I had a 3060 and then my processor was I think I have an i7 12th generation, and it ran pretty smoothly on it. Another bottleneck can be using Mac for game development. One of our team members had a Mac, and I felt like he had some issues with Unreal Engine while using Mac, because it started lagging at random places, and it was very difficult to collaborate as well with Mac systems.
Okay.
Because once again, coming to that Unreal thingy, when migrating files, we had some initial troubles while migrating from Mac OS to Windows.
Okay.
So Windows is again preferable for game development, and then pretty.
GPU is must and the
yeah,
CPU and RAM.
RAM, I think 16 GBs would be sufficient.
16 GB
16 gigs would be good, and I think
would be
even
good, or like would be a basic.
I think I think you can do game development with even 8 GBs of RAM.
Okay, cool.
But a good thing would be to have 16 GBs of RAM.
Like you are doing quite great in game development. So what are your future plans? Like as you mentioned, like game development is right now a side project. So are you focusing more on ACADS, or are you also looking at different fields of computer science right now?
One of my interest is to incorporate game development with real life 3D simulations. So Unreal Engine, while you can use it for game development, you can also use it for simulating, let's say, natural disasters, or even, let's say, you administer a pill into someone's bloodstream, how that will turn out. So it's a great place to build models with which you can visualize with. Even Unity, you can build applications.
Like we can go with AR, VR.
Yeah,
Meta.
AR VR is another very good field. So I feel like I wanna do game development, but incorporate a lot more research aspects into it. Like, let's say you build a machine learning model, for example, and it predicts where your medicine will go into our bloodstream, right? You can deploy that on a backend server on Python and then use APIs to access that in your game. That's a very nice way to use game development.
Nice.
That's something I really want to do in the future. Right now, I think it's a bit more difficult because I do not have that good of a knowledge in research.
So are you looking for like jobs in FANG companies like most of them do, or do you want to pursue a different path?
I think I haven't really thought about that much, honestly. I'm open to all opportunities and all options. It's more of I'll look into it as it goes on.
So I guess it was great talking with Shivain in his game development journey. I hope he does really well in the game development and make some game that everyone will play.
Yeah, I hope I make a game like that.
So yeah,
Really enjoy.
thank you for coming.
Thank you. It was amazing.